Morning, Erica. Good morning, everybody. How is everybody today?
Good morning.
Morning. Morning, Javanshu. So I think we'll get started and we'll just if anyone else comes in, we'll let them come in. So today we'll go through chapter 2, the market system and circular flow. So we'll go through what the differences between laissez-faire capitalism, the command system, and the market system, what the main characteristics of the market system are, and how the market system answers what to produce, how to produce, who obtains the output, how to adjust the change, and how to promote progress, and what the invisible hand is, and why market economies usually do a better job than command economies at transforming economic resources into desirable output, describe the mechanics of the circular flow model, and explain how the market system deals with risk. So we're going to go through economic systems are institutionalized arrangements, and they're different because of the use of decentralized use of markets, prices, and decision making, and also based on the amount of government control. So laissez-faire capitalism is when there's no interference from the government. So the government doesn't really have that much power over the economy. So the government just protects private property from theft and ensures that there's contract enforcement for legal. So they do all that. So it's a very minimal economy. So like so they would have basically it would just be like a justice system and like justice system, like judges, etc., and then also police and law enforcement. So basically, they would just have that as government. It wouldn't have anything else for government. So like, it would not have like, it wouldn't have like CP, like Canadian Pension Plan, Medicare, a welfare, employment insurance. It wouldn't have any of that. It would just have police and law enforcement and justice system. So then the command system is when the government owns everything. So North Korea, Cuba, Myanmar work like that. So the government owns all businesses in the country. So the government can change anything, like any decisions that they want to have at any time. So there's no freedom by businesses to do anything they want. And the market system is a mix of some government control and centralized decision making. So so like companies are owned by people. Government owns some companies. So like Canada operates like this, where the government owns CBC, LCBO, Hydro One, partly, and then the rest of private industry is owned by people. So that's how Canada works, and then yeah, so Canada works like this. So part government ownership and most owned by non-government. So yeah, market system has private property, freedom of enterprise, freedom of choice, self-interest, competition, and market prices. So Hong Kong, Singapore, Australia are the freest nations in the world. So these ones are more like laissez-faire. This is more laissez-faire here. And then this is more market economy. Canada, United States, Botswana. So these like in Israel, Spain, Italy would probably be under market economy. And then Mozambique, Algeria, North Korea, they're more centrally planned economies, where the government owns all industry basically. Yeah, so that's really how it goes here. So yeah. Technology and capital goods. Advanced technology and capital goods are encouraged as it helps market economies achieve greater efficiency in production, specialization, division of labor, ability differences, learning by doing, saving time, avoiding switching tasks, geographic specialization. So, money acts as medium of exchange. Barter requires the coincidence of wants. So, this this provides trading. So, like if Saskatchewan, so like these countries can trade with each other. So like with in this case, PEI sells potatoes to Saskatchewan. Then BC sells apples to PEI. And then Saskatchewan sells wheat to BC. So like they trade based on the what the other country has in surplus and what the other country wants. So yeah, they have it here. So like for Saskatchewan, they send wheat to BC. BC sends money to Saskatchewan. PEI sends money to BC for apples, and then PEI sends potatoes to Saskatchewan in exchange for money. So market failures are inherent in the market system. Government can increase the overall efficiency of the economic system if the market system fails. So they can bail out businesses, give loans to keep the businesses running if there is a recession. And then the central government, along with the central bank, needs to take action if the market economy is experiencing recession or inflation. Um, so this is what happened. This is what so during COVID 19, the government spent 500 spent about $1 trillion in Canada to support the economy through CERB and other programs. The rent subsidy and other programs. That's what the government did during COVID-19, and then with inflation right now, the central bank is increasing interest rates to reduce inflation. So those are things that the government can do to support the economy. So I'm going to ask the class. Oh wait, so these are more like general questions. So, what goods and services will be produced for business? So those are questions that you ask your business. How will the goods and services be produced? Who will get the goods and services? How will the system accommodate change, and how will the system promote progress? So those are important questions to ask when you're producing a product, basically. So like if you're a company trying to produce a product, those are important questions to ask. So yeah, what will produce? You need to determine a product that will be produced at total revenues greater than total cost. Um, so yeah, like in order to make a profit, total revenue must be higher than total cost. And consumer sovereignty determines types and quantities. Dollar votes reflect wants. So dollar votes are sales. So like if the sales are higher, the customers likely want the product. So then how will the goods and services be produced? So you want to minimize the cost per unit. So like be most efficient, make it cheapest. Then use the right technology and get cheap resources to create the product. So here you want to go with technique 2 because it's most efficient. The cost is $13 total. So you want to go with the lowest cost. So technique 2 is what we want to go with. So technique 2 is the cheapest at $13. So pick that. Yeah. So we want to go with the cheapest way. So that's the cheapest way. And then who will get the output? So consumers with the ability and willingness to pay will get the output. Ability to pay depends on income. Income depends on A, property and human resources, and B, resources price in the factor market. And then willingness depends on preference. How will the system accommodate change? Changes in consumer taste, changes in technology, changes in resource prices. And then how will the system promote progress, technological advance? So innovation and product income increasing, innovation and process cost reducing. So like this would reduce costs, innovation and process, and this would increase revenue for innovation product. And then capital accumulation. So entrepreneurs and business owners use part of profit to purchase capital goods to receive higher profit in the future. Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. So prices. So prices communicate information about scarcity and value. So like if you price something high, it is probably rarer. If you price something low, it is probably more common. And then if the value is higher, the price is likely higher. The price should be higher, but not always. Because you could go to Value Village, Salvation Army, or a thrift shop to get a high value product for cheap. And then also competition forces producers and resource suppliers to respond. So like competition, you need to compete. So you need to reduce prices or make a product better. And then 3 special merits of the market system. So it's efficient in terms of resources. So they use the least amount of resources needed to make a product. And then it's most efficient in terms of the production techniques. And then it's most efficient in terms of creating new and more efficient technologies. So incentives, the market system encourages skill acquisition, hard work and innovation, freedom. Rewards and penalties are imposed by the market system. So like if the company is not producing a very high value product, then customers will probably go to another company to buy their product. So command systems are a failure. Soviet Union, Eastern Europe, and China. The problem is they have output targets for all goods, and that doesn't work out. And then there is no adjustment for surplus or shortage in products, so they don't adapt to those things. So the circular flow model is one or more persons occupying a housing unit. So they purchase goods and services provided by businesses in the product market, and they get the income needed to buy the products by selling resources in the factory market. So businesses, a sole proprietorship is an unincorporated business owned and operated by a single person. Partnership is two or more of an individuals pool their financial resources and business skills to operate the business and share the profits and losses. Corporation is an independent legal entity that can acquire resources, own assets, produce, sell, and incur debts, extend credit, etc. So the difference, so a good thing about being a corporation, if you want to register as a corporation, if the corporation goes bankrupt, you won't go bankrupt. So you won't go bankrupt. This is good because your credit won't be hurt, won't be harmed. But if you are a sole proprietorship or partnership, if your sole proprietorship or partnership takes on too much debt, you will go bankrupt. So like that's the difference. It's good to register. So registering as a corporation is better because you don't have to worry about going bankrupt yourself if your company goes bankrupt. So that's the good thing about being a corporation. So then the product market is where the goods and services produced by the business are bought and sold. Households use the income they receive from the sale of resources to buy goods and services. The money spent on goods and services flows to businesses' revenue. Factory market is where households sell resources to businesses. Households sell resources to generate income. Businesses buy resources to produce goods and services. So productive resources flow from households to businesses. The money flows from businesses to households as wages, rents, interest, and profits. So like you sell a product, that money goes to the business. Then the business pays the employees with salary, wages, interest, commissions, stock gains, and profits. So like that's kind of how it works. And then it just repeats itself where the households use their earnings to buy more products. The cycle repeats itself constantly. So like this cycle just repeats itself over and over and over. So this is a good diagram here. So the circular flow model. The businesses buy factors of production, sell products, and then so households sell, firms buy. Households sell factors of production, buy products. Firms sell, households buy. So this just goes on and on and on and on. It just repeats itself like a circle like that. And then the profit system, entrepreneurial ability organizes the other three resources of land, labor, and capital towards productive uses. So entrepreneurs gain profits if they choose wisely, but suffer losses if they choose poorly. And then command economies, the problem is there's not a lot of good risk management in command economies. So the central planners do not face the possibility of losing money if they make bad decisions. So the problem is they're not efficient. They aren't efficient in commands and centrally planned economies. They can lose. They can be inefficient with costs. And then in a market economy, or laissez-faire economy, they will be efficient with costs because they don't have the government to support them with bailouts. Dealing with losses, only the firm's owners are subject to business risk and losing money. The firm's employees and suppliers receive their contracted wages and payments whether the firm is earning a profit or generating a loss. So like the entrepreneur uh takes a lot of the risk, while the employees don't take a lot of the risk because they receive wages and salary regardless of how the business is doing. But the flip side is, if you are an entrepreneur, you will generate way more income than the employee if you are successful. So the risk is worth it. So yeah, entrepreneur, like, you'll make like about like 99%, like more than 90% of the income flows to the entrepreneur. So the risk is worth it. So start a business. Because yeah, employees, unfortunately, so employees get less than 10% of the income from the business. So the entrepreneurs get more than about over 90%. So yeah, it's worth it to be an entrepreneur. So then benefits of restricting business risk to owners, attracting inputs. Input suppliers dislike risk. Security makes it easier for firms to attract labor and other inputs. Focusing attention, the profit system helps achieve prudent risk management. In a command system, the responsibility for managing risk is spread out over several layers of government, and nobody's responsible for bad outcomes. So yeah. So markets are an interaction between buyers and sellers. Markets can be local, international, and international. Then price is created from a buyer and seller interaction. So demand is a curve or schedule. So it's the amount that consumers are willing and able to purchase at a given price during a specific period of time. And then there's individual demand and market demand. So here, this would be a demand curve. It's downward sloping, where so the quantity demanded, so like demand curve, price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. So as you see that here, it's downward sloping. That's what happens. And then the law of demand is the negative and inverse relationship between price and quantity demanded. Other things equal, as price falls, the quantity demanded rises, and as price rises, the quantity demanded falls. So like when things get cheaper, quantity demanded goes up. Yeah. And then law of diminishing marginal utility, income effect, substitution effect. Demand curve is the inverse relationship between price and quantity. Demand is shown on a graph. Quantity demanded on the horizontal axis and price on the vertical axis. And the downward slope reflects the law of demand. The demand curve is the marginal benefit curve. So what they do to get the demand curve, they add up all individual demands. So like for all these people, so they add up Joe's, Jen's, and Jay's individual demands to get the quantity demanded. So this would be Joe's demand curve. It's this would be his, and then this is Jen's demand curve. This is Jay's, and then we add all those together to get the market demand curve. So we add up Joe, Jen, and Jay's demand curves to get the market demand curve. The determinants of demand are changing consumer tastes and preferences due to like factors like price, product quality, like fads, like if they're into, let's say, Pokemon for one day and then into, let's say, Tamagotchi the next day, change the number of buyer and change in income. So like if like the number of buyers increases, demand will increase. If income increases, demand will increase for normal goods. However, if income increases, demand will decrease for inferior goods. Because so an inferior good is something like Kraft dinner. You would eat less of it if you had more money, because you would be buying more better food. So like for example, like you could buy, like for example, you could eat out at a restaurant. And then if income increases, demand will increase for normal goods. So like going to restaurants to eat will increase. So then changes in prices of related goods. So if the price of a complement goes up, so if the price of a complement goes up, the quantity demanded of the other complement will go down. For example, if the price of ketchup goes up, the quantity demanded for mustard will go down. Yeah. And then for substitutes, if the price of a substitute goes up, the quantity demanded of the other substitute will go up. So like, for example, if the price of Ford goes up, the quantity demanded for GM will go up because people will switch due to higher costs. And then if future prices, if they expect future prices to go up, demand will increase right now because the price is still cheap. So they buy a lot more now because the price is still cheap. And then if they expect future income to go up, demand will increase right now because they will have more income in the future to pay for it. So yeah. So this rightward shift, what do you think would cause this rightward shift in demand, everybody? Like what would cause the rightward shift in demand here? So it could be caused by an increase in income, increase in buyers. Also, yeah, so those could be reasons for it. Then a decrease would be caused by a decrease in income or decrease in buyers. So change of buyer tastes, physical fitness. An example would be physical fitness rises in popularity, increasing demand for jogging shoes and bicycles. Cell phone popularity rises, reducing the demand for landline phones. And then change the number of buyers, decline in the birth rate reduces demand for children's toys, change in income. A rise in incomes increases demand for normal goods such as restaurant meals, sports tickets, and tablet computers, while reducing the demand for inferior goods such as cabbage, turnips, and inexpensive wine. Changes in the price of related goods, a reduction in airfares reduces demand for bus transportation, substitute goods. A decline in the price of Blu-ray DVD players increases demand for Blu-ray DVD movies, complementary goods. Changing consumer expectations, inclement weather in South America creates an expectation of higher future coffee bean prices, thereby increasing today's demand for coffee beans. So change in demand is a shift in the entire demand curve. A change in quantity demand is a movement along the demand curve. Supply can be a scheduled curve. The amount producers are willing and able to sell at a given price, individual supply and market supply. So law of supply, other things equal, as the price rises, the quantity supplied rises, and as the price falls, the quantity supplied falls. So price acts as an incentive to producers. At some point, costs will rise. So yeah, they want to supply. So the company wants to supply more when the price rises because they'll make more money. So like in this case, like they'd make $5 when they supply 5, then they make $40 when they supply 20, and then they make $105 when they supply 35, and then they make $200 when they supply 50, then they make $300 when they supply 60. So they make more money if they supply more. So yeah. Increases in supply is shifting right, decrease in supply is shifting left. And then there's it moves along the curve when there is a change in quantity supplied. So supply can be determined by factor prices, technology, taxes and subsidies, prices of other goods, price of expectations, and the number of sellers. So change in factor prices example, a decrease in the price of microchips increases the supply of computers, an increase in the price of crude oil reduces the supply of gasoline, change in technology, the development of more effective wireless technology increases the supply of cell phones, changes in tax and subsidies, an increase in the excise tax on cigarettes reduces the supply of cigarettes, a decline in subsidies to state universities reduces the supply of higher education, change in prices of other goods, an increase in the price of cucumbers decreases the supply of watermelons, change in producer expectations and expectation of a substantial rise in future log prices decreases the supply of logs today. Change in the number of suppliers, an increase in the number of tattoo parlors, increases the supply of tattoos. The formation of women's professional basketball leagues increases the supply of women's professional basketball games. So equilibrium occurs when the demand curve and supply curve intersect. Surplus and shortage rash. So surplus would be, I'll show you what a surplus and shortage would be. And then, so surplus would be if, so surplus is when quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. And then demand is when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. And then efficient allocation, productive efficiency is when it's fully efficient and total surplus maximized. And then allocative efficiency is when it's fair, basically. Fair and efficient. So here, this would be when it's surplus. Surplus is here when quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. And then below would be shortage. Shortage when quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. So rationing function of prices, the ability of the competitive forces of demand and supply to establish a price at which selling and buying decisions are consistent. So productive efficiency is producing goods in the least costly way, using the best technology, using the right mix of resources. So productive efficiency is when it's most efficient. And then allocative efficiency is when it's most efficient and fair. Yeah. Productive efficiency is still not fair. Yeah. So you want to be allocative efficient. So when the demand increases, equilibrium price increases, equilibrium quantity increases. And then if when demand decreases, equilibrium price decreases and an equilibrium quantity decreases. An increase in demand, quantity increases, price increases. Decrease in demand, price decreases, quantity decreases. Changes in supply. So if supply increases, equilibrium price falls, equilibrium quantity rises. If supply decreases, equilibrium price rises, equilibrium quantity falls. So yeah, if supply increases, price decreases, and quantity increases. If supply decreases, price goes up, quantity decreases. So the problem, like with these situations where there is a supply increase, demand decrease, supply decrease, demand increase, supply increase, demand increase, supply decrease, demand decrease, we don't know exactly what happens in every case. So like what happens is with if supply increases and demand decreases, the price will decrease, but we don't know what happens to the quantity. So we won't know what happens to the quantity in that case. And then if supply decreases and demand increases, the price increases, but we don't know what happens to the quantity. And then if supply increases and demand increases, we don't know what happens to price, but we know that quantity increases. And then if supply decreases and demand decreases, we don't know what happens to price, but we know that quantity decreases. And then price ceilings are the maximum legal price a seller may charge for a product or service, e.g. rent control, set below equilibrium price, rationing problem, black markets, credit cards, interest ceilings. So this is rent control. So rent control is done for this. So like you pay lower price than equilibrium for rent. However, this creates a shortage because quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. So yeah, here there would be more quantity demanded than quantity supplied, which is a problem. Yeah. So let's say they're charging 75 cents for, let's say, coffee instead of the $1.25 that's the equilibrium. There would be a shortage. So there would be more quantity demanded than quantity supplied. And then price floor is minimum price fixed by the government to support agricultural products, minimum wages. The problem is they do this on milk. So milk has a price floor, so it causes a surplus. So like quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded. So they do that in Canada. Milk has a price floor in Canada. So like, let's say this is milk. So milk in this case would be priced at $4 because of the price floor, instead of the $3 where it should be. So yeah, additional examples of supply and demand. So if weather destroys part of the crop, supply shifts left. And then demand doesn't change if consumers want as much lettuce before. And this would increase equilibrium price, which would reduce the quantity demanded. So this is what would happen here. So this is what, like, if weather destroys a crop, it's like if weather destroys a crop, supply will shift left. Yeah. Exchange rates are the price of one country's currency in terms of another country's currency. So currency appreciation and currency depreciation. So currency appreciation is when the currency goes up in value. And they can afford more imports. And then currency depreciation is when currency goes down in value, which increases exports. So then supply shifts right for pink salmon. That means that there might have been new technology, new fishers enter the industry. Demand shifts left for pink salmon. There's an increase in consumers' income. They buy other products because they may shift because they have more money. They have more money. So they may buy lobster instead of pink salmon because they have more money. And then reduction in the price of substitutes. So they may shift to substitutes. So like if the price of substitutes goes down, they may shift to buy substitutes. Supply of gasoline decreases. It might be caused by refinery breakdowns, Mideast politics and warfare, rising price of oil. So like these things would cause less production of oil, production of gas, would be caused by these things, which would reduce the supply of gasoline. And then demand for gasoline increases, consumers' incomes increase, low mileage SUVs are popular. Supply shifts right, increase the number of sushi bars. Demand shifts right, consumers' taste for sushi increases. Preset prices can cause market imbalances. Olympics figure skating finals. Preset price results in shortage of tickets. Olympics curling preliminaries. Preset price results in surplus tickets.